What is up, you guys? Justin Rivas here, wanting to talk to you today about this, the Panasonic LX10. This is a pretty cool, one of these premium 1-inch sensor compact cameras. A lot of people are going to be comparing this to the Canon G7X or the Sony RX100V, probably, maybe a 4. But let's just talk briefly about top-level specs. Shoots 4K video. It's got the big 1-inch sensor. The lens on it is absolutely fantastic. Like a glass, goes from f1.4, which is crazy for a camera this small, to f2.8 at a 24 to 72 millimeter equivalent. So this lens is like kind of the perfect amount of range for doing a lot of things. It's very similar to the Canon or the Sony, but being able to shoot at f1.4 is a chunk better than either of those cameras. And so I guess price-wise, I think it's about $700 US right now, so it's not inexpensive. It's not like a little point and shoot. This is a premium camera meant for being much better at low light, being able to blur out that background, being able to do a lot of fun things with it. But I think the big thing people want to know is, should you buy the Canon, should you buy the Sony, or should you buy something like this? Now, if you guys haven't been following me for a while, I use Panasonic a lot. I did all my vlogs on Panasonic cameras, and so the idea of being able to use another Panasonic camera for being able to do like these really small, intimate vlogs is great. Like, I love the idea that I can just throw this in my pocket. I did use this at a vlog I did at a hockey game with my buddy Greg. I'll throw that up over here. And you can follow that vlog and see it. Now, the only thing I will tell you is that it was my first time using this camera, and so with a little bit of practice, I would have been better on the focusing side and a few other different things about it. But there are some shots in there where you go, wow, that looks really good. I wasn't shooting in 4K, I was just shooting in simple 1080p, but it looks really, really nice. And this lens does surprisingly well at being able to get into those low light situations or being able to blur out that background and make it feel very cinematic. It, however, still has Panasonic's basic contrast autofocus system. If you put it on the face or the eye detection, I've been noticing that it's pretty good at being able to pick it out. Also, like at 1.4, it's very shallow depth of field, meaning your eyes can be in focus and your ears are starting to get out of focus. That is hard for a contrast autofocus system. But I found this camera actually to be better than using the $2,000 Canadian Leica 12mm 1.4 with my G7. I would struggle with focus. They seem to be better, but if you don't know this about focusing systems, the darker it gets, the harder it is for them to focus. And so you'll notice in that vlog, there's some moments where it's just like out of focus and it can't get back into focus. If I would have stopped and really done something, it probably would have been okay, but I think the Canon or the Sony are going to be better because they use a hybrid autofocus system. So that out of the way, other than that feature, I think this thing, I mean, one, it's a little bit less expensive, more inexpensive, and this lens is really, really nice. Now, it's f1.4 at the widest setting, and then as you start to zoom, it very quickly goes to 2.8. But when you're vlogging or in those low light situations, being able to have that extra light means the camera doesn't have to work as hard, and that is really, really nice, as well as being able to separate that background even more from your subject. It's got the flip-up screen, so you're able to see yourself, so that is really, really nice. As far as like dials, it's got the aperture dial right here. So you're actually able to adjust your aperture on the fly. This is nice if you're shooting manual because the one dial here will control your shutter speed settings, and then you're able to control aperture here. You can change this dial here to either be zooming or to be focused, depending on what you're doing. So that's kind of handy. Other than that, it's got a whole bunch of like assignable buttons that can do all sorts of different things, which I found that to be nice because I've been able to set it up so I can quickly get it everything that I need. But other than that, I would say the focusing, yeah, it can be a little bit slow in video mode, but other than that, it typically just works. I guess here's my other big challenge with this camera. When you put it on video mode, it doesn't use the full width, which I found kind of disappointing. Like, it actually zooms in a little bit, so instead of being at a 24mm equivalent, it's closer to a 30mm equivalent. So if you went and watched that vlog, or you go watch this vlog afterwards, you'll see that it's a struggle to get two people in the frame, which is a little bit different for me, honestly. Like, this is my 7 to 14mm Panasonic. That's a 14mm equivalent, and here you can see I'm literally like I don't know, 2 feet back, and we've got a whole room in here. And so that was a challenge. Also, if you shoot on 4K, it's going to crop it even a little bit more. So basically what I found is if we do this, and maybe I'll even hit record here right now, let's just do a little bit of testing with it. So you can see here right now it's, and maybe you can't see, but it's doing eye detection. So it's trying to follow along with my eye. This is at 1.4. So I have these cameras at exactly the same depth. And so what you can see here is the difference in filling frame. Now it's 14 millimeters, that's crazy wide. But let's put it at 24 millimeters. And you know, it's pretty close there. I mean, it's cropped slightly, but no, it's basically pretty similar. But you don't get like crazy wide. And then if I was put on 4K, it would go even a little bit tighter. But if I come in close, we'll see how quickly it refocuses. Okay, like that. I'll move it back. How quickly does it refocus? Sorry, I'm looking at the screen above because I just want to see. And if I like point at something in the background, yeah, you know, see, it's finding the focus pretty well. Now I have a reasonable amount of light. I've got a spotlight here, so really dark situations are going to be different. Audio-wise, I'll flip over to the audio here. And you can see that provided I'm talking at this distance, it's not too bad. But between this and the shotgun mic, there's obviously going to be a difference. And then when you get into really noisy situations, it's going to be a little bit different. But overall, I would say I've been very impressed with this camera. Photo-wise, it takes fantastic photos. Like, absolutely fantastic. When you think of like how small this is and that it goes in your pocket, it's kind of hefty. But I really want to keep this. Panasonic sent this to me to try out. I'm going to try and figure out how to get one. Now, would I get the Sony? That's the one that I think does 4K. It does all that this does. The focusing's probably a little bit better. This one on the high-speed mode will shoot 120 frames per second, so that's 5 times slow if you're down to 24 frames per second. The Sony does like crazy things like 960 frames per second, but that footage doesn't always look the best. So if you want that crazy slow-mo, Sony can do it. This one can still do some pretty wicked slow-mo. I mean, the GH4 only does 96 frames per second. This is even faster than that, but the Sony's 300 US more, so that's definitely something to consider. If I had the money, I probably would buy the Sony, but I don't know. I found this to be good, and I want to play with it more, and so I've asked it for a request from Panasonic to keep it a little bit longer and maybe try a couple more vlogs and other things, but definitely something worth checking out, especially if you already live in the Panasonic world. Everything will feel very familiar, and I've been talking for long enough. As always, any questions, I would love for you to drop them in the comments below. I'm Justin. Thanks for watching.